This video edition of the Bob Thurman podcast is brought to you in part through the generous support of the Tibet House U.S. membership community and listeners like you. To learn more how you can support this podcast, please visit bobthurman.com.
And then I have a few things that are sort of current at the moment. One is the President Trump is visiting in Singapore with the North Korean dictator Kim Jong Un. And I think we should hope that something good comes of it, even though logically speaking we don't really think it will. But even though we would think that America and the world, and even Mr. Trump himself, would be far better if he were not the president, which he's not really well suited to being. But maybe, anyway, we should, since he is occupying that office, we should hope that even accidentally he stumbles into, and even by the quirkiness of his unsuitability, he's doing something that someone wouldn't normally do, talk to a mass murdering, totalitarian, vicious dictator, cute as he might look with his own weird hairdo, a little bit obese, but still cute. But vicious, from what he's done in life and what he's doing to his own people. Which is the problem, of course, because he wants the nuclear weapons, because they reflect his own paranoia and fear of other people, which he has because he's vicious to them. So when you naturally assume by however you behave that others will at least want to behave the same way, you don't assume that they actually want to be nice if you tend to be very vicious and very violent and very callous, let's say, and self-centered, You naturally assume that others are like that. So then naturally you want to arm yourself very strongly, and you're afraid if you give that up that people will devour you. And it might be likely, if you didn't have a police state, that many people who are semi-starving or whose relatives are in prison camps or themselves are been a long time in prison camps, etc., they might want to be rather harsh on him if they had the opportunity, normal human reaction. So how can he, become peaceful as a person when he's afraid of his own people? That's the problem, you see. And how can you make him less afraid of his own people? If you say, well, you could be less afraid of your own people if you were nice to them, then he would think you were trying to do regime change. And he think, but on the other hand, this would be one of the things. This connects to a fantasy I've always had, where I wanted to have an island, like a paradise island, where dictators could be encouraged to migrate when things were getting too stressful, and their pressure level was too high, and potential explosive resistance was too great, to invite them to go there. And when Reagan invited the Marcos couple, Fernand and Imelda Marcos, to move to Hawaii and got them a nice house, and because they were quite wealthy, they'd robbed a lot of money from the Philippine people, but and they could take some of it with them, and even sent a plane for her shoe collection and so on. That was great, because then they didn't stay to the bitter end killing off people who were protesting against them. So my fantasy is that we would have a facility like that where we could relieve dictators whenever they reach the point where it's too much, and then sort of let things shake out in the country, without killing them, without their own people just rebelling against them and wanting to kill them, so that they don't get into that thing like the cornered badger, or the cornered bear, who is so much more dangerous when they feel cornered, So who knows, invite him to take over the Trump Hotel on some island somewhere, and maintain telecommunication with his people, and take credit for letting them rationalize and more, relax their culture. Maybe avoid having another military dictator arise in his place based on the same mechanism. Maybe, or lessen it anyway. Who knows? I mean, never mind. I don't want to go into it. I'm just saying, let's hope that something good, incidentally, can come out of it. Maybe Kim Jong Un will think that Trump, well, the problem there, Trump is having more fun than him, even though he's frustrated that he's not a dictator, because he lives in some kind of slightly decayed democracy. So it's more fun to be in one. So maybe Kim Jong Un will get that clue and try to figure out if there's ways he can gradually soften his rule without getting killed, Loose the reins, loosen it, bit by bit. And maybe we could develop a method of trying to help, where we don't demand instant change chaotic, like the violent stuff like happened in Libya and Iraq, creating more stress and than removing a dictator by violence is simply no good. We should complete 100% forswear such a thing. That we just won't do that ever. Which doesn't mean we'll abandon the people under the bad dictators. We were there, and we'll develop programs, and we'll encourage the dictators to come out of their caves, out of their shells. A really new, realistic approach to world problems, I think, is what we need. And maybe this complete craziness of this gentleman representing us now, or considering that he represents us, I think a lot of us he doesn't really represent, I'm afraid. But maybe the craziness, therefore, could be of some benefit. Let's pray that, in spite of himself, he does something for others, in this case. Let's hope. And same about Kim Jong Un. Maybe he can change. Well, that's one thing I wanted to talk about today. And another thing is I wanted to express my condolences to the family and friends and all of us and fans of Anthony Bourdain. I hope I pronounced that correct, or Bourdain, I'm sorry, who was very inspiring in his travel and food things, and seemed like he was enjoying life a lot, and was very, very down to earth and cheering other people up in this sad and untimely demise of his. And but, which is a very unfortunate way to go. But I just want to say that let no one really think that it makes sense that, some religious people, Western and Eastern both, kind of threaten people who commit harakiri in some way, who off themselves. They kind of threaten them that if you do that, you're going to have a horrible future life. Either you will go to hell, I think some of the churches say, or become born in a lower form, some Buddhists might say, or Hindus. And I think that's a kind of silly, but it's natural that they would want to make people feel very worried and frightened to kill themselves, because many things happen to make you feel like you would just like to get out of here, and they want them to be afraid to do that because their life is so precious. So although maybe they're being silly to insist on just this has happened, just that has to happen, it's understandable. Their motivation is to protect people's lives. And however, the basic rule in Buddhist biology, multi-life biology, Buddhist science, not religion necessarily, but Buddhist science has a multi-life biology. And in that biology, what determines the quality of your rebirth, your ongoing continuum of consciousness that then finds another body usually, or actually always, even Buddha, but Buddha can find many at one time, that's the difference, and it's all voluntary. But anyway, you find another body, and what will determine the quality of that body and the quality of your next life is really how you lived your whole life. It isn't just how you passed away, the instantaneous thing, the few moments or hours or day or two of how you die. You know, in Buddhist cultures, they do pray not to die violently in a battle or war or state of anguish or something, because it's not good to go into the transition that way. But what really asserts itself right away once you're separate from your body, your subtle mind continuum, your super subtle mind continuum, your soul continuum, you can say. Buddhist science would allow that saying, certainly. It will revert to its basic openness or closedness as an entity. And Anthony was clearly very open-hearted, very, very kind. He was a chef, a master cook. And nobody becomes that who isn't interested in having others have the pleasure of eating good food. They may have some ego there, but they like to feed others. They enjoy that. It's a nurturing kind of thing. So he surely will, in next life, he'll have an even better travel and cooking program. There's no doubt. And people should cheer up, and he should cheer up if he's zooming around the planet listening to mentions of his name, following Google search program, who thinks of him and who mentions him. And I'm thinking of him, and I'd like us all to think of him in a happy and positive way. Yes, we're sad you left, but there's no reason for you to mope around, because it's happened and it can't be undone. But what can be undone is any kind of heading in a bad direction, and head for the great, chef's kitchen in the sky. And, how you express your love for people, that you express so much and so richly in your many wonderful and successful programs. And we know that you will carry with you the seed of that program in your soul, and you will find an embodiment in maybe a different planet, who knows, a different country. Perhaps you will not be French. Paris the thought. Since you have Emmanuel Macron now, the nice, young, future-oriented, pleasant person leading your country. So Paris the thought. But you never know what you're going to be, And wherever your heart draws you is where you will be. And it will draw you to wonderful new programs. So here's to you. And here's to you finding your way and being of good cheer as a traveler on the subtle Bardo plane, okay? And let those who mourn you sincerely do so, and don't feel that if they are of good cheer to send you a positive, uplifting, encouraging thing, like you wave goodbye to a traveler, or you're missing that they're going, but you say, have a great time. So you're happy for them, hoping they will, and wishing them to. That's how we should mourn people. Irish wakes kind of have the right idea. Okay? So that's the other thing I want to talk about. And I think that's all today. I'm looking forward in future podcasts to beginning a process of Zoom and having interview people, other people, because I'm sure you're sick and tired of hearing me talk by now. We're in our 100 and whatever it is podcast. And I would like to begin to collect an archive. I've been on other people's podcasts and enjoyed them very much, being interviewed by them, and I'm going to start doing that. So let's look forward to that together. Anyone who's seeing this who would like to be interviewed, send an email, tbt7@columbia.edu, and or to bobthurman.com via bobthurman.com, and the conversation will continue. All the best. Om Mani Padme Hum. And especially Om Mani Padme Hum, may the Lord of Compassion, the thousand-armed, thousand-eyed, brilliant Avalokiteshvara, and the many, many miracle-working Taras, Devis, Tara goddesses, may they guide him on the way with great care and skill, and help him find a suitable new venue for his manifesting his loving nature toward humanity, toward others, and toward himself. More toward himself in the next time. Okay? All the best. Okay?
Study Buddhism up close and personal with Robert Thurman and the Tibet House U.S. membership community during GeoX trips to Bhutan and Mongolia in 2018. To learn more about these Dorset trips with Bob Thurman and friends, please visit bobthurman.com. Thanks for watching.